Hey everybody, this is Bo back in the lounge. We've got head wrestling coach out of Appalachian State University. He was a stud over at UNC. We greatly appreciate his time and effort in our program. His name is John Mark Bentley. How you doing, Coach?
Doing fine. How are you doing this morning?
Good, sir. Listen, your predecessor we really enjoyed talking to a lot out of the school, and you've been working underneath him. You now assume the responsibilities of head coach. How's it going so far?
It's going great. I just finished hiring my staff a couple weeks ago, and we just finished up with camps this past Sunday. So things are rolling along. We're getting ready to start into the recruiting for the upcoming year, and I'm really excited about the potential this team has, and having a new staff and a new excitement here at Appalachian. I think it's going to be a fun ride the next couple of years.
Coach, in your program yourself, you've actually had a couple athletes do quite well nationally for yourself under your guidance when you were under the previous predecessor. And it's kind of nice to see how you step into the role, because there's really no change in wrestling. It's not like a football team where you've got 200 guys and you've got 12 coaches. It's just basically you working with the staff and the athletes you had last year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've got several obviously new faces coming in. We've got about 7 recruits that'll be coming in as incoming freshmen, which we're excited to get our hands on those guys. But we already had a really good group from the last 2 previous recruiting classes. We had a couple of All-Americans up at University Nationals this spring, and both of those wrestlers are a freshman and a sophomore. So we've got a really young team, really talented, and like I said, I think it's going to be an exciting ride for the next couple of years.
Coach, when you step into this role for yourself, is there nothing better than watching a freshman come into your program? I know in football, off air, we always have fun conversations about how cocky the freshmen are in football, and when they show up for practice, sometimes the coaches get eyes open because they're really that good, as much as being as good as they could possibly be as a freshman. But in wrestling, how does that work out for you to get those new faces? We know in some other programs, a lot of the guys are already state champions. We know that you've got a nice pedigree behind them. But, within the class that you have, do you see a lot of freshmen eyes suddenly start wide open and look like the deer in the headlight?
Yeah, and I think that's the case every year. I mean, we have a lot of multiple state champions that come in, and they're used to being the top dog in their program and in their room, and it's just it's an eye-opening experience for them when they come in and, end up getting thumped, so to speak, for the first couple of months. I mean, I know a lot of freshmen come in and may not score a point for the first couple of weeks in a room, and I think it's humbling because no matter how good they are coming out of high school, it's a big difference between a Division I seasoned wrestler and a high school, even if it's a blue chipper coming out of high school. So it takes a couple of months to adjust, but they're a different wrestler by the time they go home for fall break. So
I think the one element that I think wrestlers separate themselves from the top 100 football players is that in a football team you have 11 guys. You go against each other. In wrestling, no matter what program you're at, how small your high school is or how small your college is, you are generally going against some of the best from that school. With that said, how much do these freshmen really need to learn about college wrestling?
They do. I mean, I think the biggest transition, to be honest with you, is that mat wrestling is a much bigger part of the sport when you get to the Division I collegiate level. Most good high school wrestlers can pretty much beat everyone in their area or their state on their feet. And I think the biggest transition I see for most freshmen is learning how to wrestle on the mat, because when you get to the collegiate level, all of them are good athletes. All of them, have a good pedigree and have been very successful in the sport. And for the most part, most of them have been, pretty dominant on their feet. But, it takes a little while for them to adjust to mat wrestling.
Yeah, Coach. The other thing that I like about your resume is you pretty much are a North Carolina kid. I mean, Davidson, UNC. It's a lot of coaches are not afforded the luxury of coaching right in their back door. How do you like it?
I love it. This is an ideal job for me here at Appalachian. It's a place that I could see myself being for a really long time. My wife's family and my family both are close by, which is important to both of us as we get ready to start a family. And it's a beautiful area. I feel very fortunate to be able to coach at the Division I level in the sport I love. And the ideal place for me. right in my backyard. It's a tremendous opportunity, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, we always like when young coaches step into a role of a head position because of the experience you have on mat, the experience that you have in your background, where you can actually go into some of your varsity players and really show them a lot of little tricks of the trade. What are kind of things that high schoolers do not realize when they first step into the octagon or the circle or the square mat that college wrestlers sort of pick up along the way?
Well, I think that the main thing is that our coaching staff has a lot to offer our athletes as far as mat experience, because we, all three of our coaches here have had a lot of success in the sport of wrestling, and I've been very fortunate and blessed to have been around a lot of good coaches and a lot of good programs, and I've seen a lot of I guess a lot of experience of just watching other coaches run their program, and I've taken the best of what I've liked from a lot of different coaches and kind of put that together. And that's how I try to run my practices and how I try to run my team. I think it's also important that we're all our coaches here are young enough to where I think we can actually get some respect from the kids, because we can when they come in, we can whip their tail and get a little respect from them. That way as they're coming in, that we're all three young enough to still get in there and bang heads with them, and I think that helps develop their respect a little faster when you can get in there and whip their tail. So.
Hey, I think there's a line from the movie Cowboys in John Wayne where the young bull is stronger, but the old bull is smarter. And I think in wrestling and a lot of other sports, smarter seems to overtake that young bull that comes in because they want to use their raw power and they don't want to use their intelligence.
Yeah, I think that you become a student of the sport, especially when you become a coach. I think that my skills have probably increased as a coach just because I'm having to kind of look at new ways to teach things and to see things and analyze different techniques from all different angles. Whereas an athlete, you don't really, I guess you don't really have to get out of your comfort zone, but as a coach, it forces you to get out of your comfort zone, because you've got to help different athletes who have different strengths and different weaknesses. So I think it makes you better as far as the overall technical and tactical part of the sport. But I would imagine that obviously our cardiovascular and our timing and things are probably not as sharp as younger guys, because we're not actually drilling and training every day. But we still can get in there and wrestle and use our tactical and technical experience to our advantage.
Coach, before we let you go, because we know how busy your schedule is right now, what are kind of things right now high school wrestlers need to focus on while they're still in high school, especially if they want to go to the next level?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, their academics.
Absolutely.
We're running into more and more each day. I'll be looking at a great wrestler and a strong athlete, and then come to find out by the time they're, a senior, that they've kind of laxed in their studies and their schoolwork, and it. Here at Appalachian, it's a difficult school to get into, and it's becoming more increasingly difficult to get borderline or marginal kids into school, and especially with the new APR rate that the NCAA is pushing on all the universities. You really can't afford to take a chance on a marginal kid that may or may not make it academically. So I think first and foremost, a lot of kids at the high school level that have aspirations of moving on and becoming Division I athletes really need to buckle down and understand that their academics are important from their freshman year in high school on.
Absolutely. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time with us. We want to reach out to our friends and family over this great world, equal 1.3 million. This is an awesome program to follow. Appalachian State is one of our favorite places on the map. Anybody who's been listening know that we love North Carolina. This is John Mark Bentley from Appalachian State. Thanks a lot, Coach. One moment.
Thank you.
We are off the air. Just bear with me one second.